Hi guys, it's Nicole, and today I am jumping back into a sketch bundle that I have been working with off and on for a very long time. I would have to go back and see when I started prepping this. This is the 6x6 sketches for single page layouts, which is from Allison Davis with Scrapbook Generation. That's a mouthful. I will find a link to the bundle and post it below. Her 6x6 sketches, and whether they're individual or bundles, I almost always buy because design wise they tend to be things that I gravitate towards. And then I love working with paper pads, like smaller designs, because most of the time they're going to be at least half filled with B-sides, and so that's just kind of my preference in papers, I guess. Now, this is actually sketch 11. I had skipped it when I was doing initial prep and stuff like that. It's not my favorite. And it's not that there's anything wrong with it. I think there's just specific styles and specific like design elements that I tend to enjoy and I tend to gravitate towards. This one I also modified a tiny bit. The sketch itself is sort of tilted at an angle. So I have learned over the years of working with SG's classes and their sketch bundles. Way back many years ago, they had, I believe it was considered a class, but it was in like a sketchbook, photo arrangement replay, and that was really the class that kind of unlocked how to look at sketches differently and how to make them work for me. It wasn't anything necessarily earth-shattering. It was just sort of working through that class. I really kind of unlocked ways to make changes that work for me. So we're going to pretend like we're not actually looking at the sketch here, but you can see it's tilted. I try really hard not to show sketches in videos, so that's a goof on my part. Normally I try to keep my little post-it note across the whole image. Anyways, so you can see that that was tilted. So the modification that I'm going to do is just a simple one to straighten everything out because that's my preference. I think it's really fun to do a layout that's tilted if you've got something that kind of has like a lot of movement to it. I'm just doing some photos from my phone from a hockey game that we had went to a couple years ago, and I just was not feeling the tilted, so I change it. And there's just absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. Like, find things that you like about it, find things that you want to change. I'm pretty sure I changed up the photo sizes on this one as well. I went and looked real quick. The strip of photos, I kept the same size that she had depicted on her sketch. Those are all 3x3s that I just cut a tiny bit smaller and then adhered them to a strip of white cardstock to kind of make like a DIY photo collage. I don't have 12-inch photo paper, so typically that's just what I'll do. And then the sketch shows one 2x2-inch photo kind of tucked in along those. I had more photos that I wanted to use. I also didn't have any more photos that I could have cropped down into a square. So I just took one that was in a vertical orientation, one that's in a horizontal orientation, and tucked them in. I actually like the fact that because I have two photos and because they are bigger, they're taking up more area or more landscape on the layout. And that's something else that I kind of like to do if I'm not 100% feeling a sketch or I'm not 100% in love with it, is I will sort of fill in with extra photos or maybe make my title bigger, add to it, that type of thing. I'll just kind of make enough changes to it until I'm happy with it. And I will say this layout took a long time, and when I say a long time, I mean months, because I started this layout, like I prepped it, I put it away, I pulled it out, I started it, I put it away, I brought it with me to a crop. I think at this point I'm at the crop. It was just a lot of, I couldn't make up my mind, And this happens every time I use this sort of color palette, which I'm really hoping that this is the last time I use it. And that's not to say that there's anything bad with these papers or anything. I think I've done like 4 or 5 layouts with this sort of black and gold color combination in the last probably year and a half. And because I don't have a lot of that in my stash without really making my own papers or really making my own embellishments, I'm not feeling it anymore. And that's typically a sign to be like, okay, I think I'm done with this. So when I had pulled this back out at the crop, this was kind of late in my crop session, and I was tired and the decision fatigue was really setting in. I could not figure out where I wanted to put this title. I ended up gluing this title, packing up and going home. And of course, when I got home, I was like, man, I really wish I hadn't glued down this title, because I kind of wish I could put it anywhere other than where I had decided to put it. But we're going to go with it. I think my original thought was to kind of fill in some of that open area on the photo, as well as just kind of that open area above the photos, kind of going with that thought that I had mentioned earlier about filling in more of the open areas on a sketch that isn't necessarily my favorite. And I will say that even at this stage, I'm like, I don't have any embellishments that are sort of themed to this. And I have not been in the mood to plug my cameo in. Like, I could have gone and made like some little pucks or some little hockey sticks, like anything. I was feeling lazy. So this is then this week when I finally just decided to unpack it and basically force myself to finish it. It's one of those things where I've pulled it out so many times. I've taken little tiny nibbles off of it. I just want to sort of get it done and move on. I think I have 4, maybe 5 more layouts out of this 20 sketch bundle, and I can say that I completed the whole thing. I don't always attack a sketch bundle like that, but I do enjoy it. And I know that a lot of people that watch my videos and follow me also enjoy it, because the prep videos especially, I feel like are not planned well, they're not filmed well, and I don't explain myself well. But I get a lot more comments on those videos of people saying that they like seeing the prep that goes on behind and how I sort of work through these sketch bundles. I tend to do like 5 at a time. Sometimes I'll prep a little bit more. But I get a lot of comments saying that you guys like to watch that and you guys appreciate seeing like the planning phase. And I always find that interesting. I always think it's interesting because I don't think that I'm not running a professional show here. We got some different things going on, and some people really like the cleaning videos. Some people like a short, quick process videos. Some people like longer. Some people don't want to see like the paper cutting. Some people do want to see the paper cutting. I tend to just edit the clips that I have available and run with it without, like, I try not to have a 30-minute video. I don't know that I've ever had a 30-minute video that wasn't a cleaning video, but I don't know. So again, I've pulled everything out. I knew going into this that I was just going to go with the stars that were depicted on the sketch because I felt like stars was somewhat on theme with this topic. But I will say, I feel like I took a really long time just figuring out papers to cut these stars into. I ended up turning off my camera thinking that was going to be boring, just watching me try to pick pattern papers, because I was bored trying to pick pattern papers. So in the end, I ended up pulling out some black glitter cardstock that I had. I pulled out some gold, and then I used the patterns that I had pulled for the stripes. And then, apparently I was watching YouTube while I was doing this, and I'm not sure who I was watching. I can't tell if that's a scrapbooking or a card. That's probably a card making one. A lot of times when I'm doing stuff like die cutting, stacking die cuts and gluing them, stuff like this, I tend to put something on that I can kind of watch and listen to at the same time because it's repetitive and I don't really need to think or make decisions. So yeah, this is when I get a lot of my YouTube watching in. I did use my favorite sentiment die to cut out my journal strips. I have really been liking to do 2 extra strips glued behind the one with the printed journaling so that it's a total of 3. It's a little bit thinner than using like the foam adhesive strips, but it's still, for me, kind of gives it that like raised look. And it's not going to get smushed in my album by the time I decide to put that away. If I can think of what my star dies are, I will link them below. I swear you guys, one day I will be responsible and I'll actually like label my stuff when I rip the packaging apart and put it in an envelope. I wasn't doing that because very rarely would people ever ask me what it was. Like, to me, star dies are just kind of star dies. But I get it. Like, I watch videos and I'm like, can you please tell me what that is? Because I'm going to go buy it like right now. So I get it. If I can think of where I got them, one of them for sure, like two of the smaller hearts I pulled from a Lawn Fawn like tag set. One is like a dedicated stacked stars, and then some of the tiny ones are from like a confetti die. I will typically just kind of go through and look through all of my dies if I'm looking for repeating shapes, because a lot of those sets where it's like tags or shaker elements, they'll give you things like stars and hearts and circles. So I just kind of look through and see what I have that's going to work. And I think every star that I did the same thing as my journaling strips, where I did 2 layers of just scrap white cardstock underneath the like gold paper or the pattern paper. And then I had gone through and included the date when I originally prepped this, so I didn't have to go look that up, so that was kind of nice. I'm going to add my date, and I don't think I filmed it, but I did go and I added a couple black and gold phrase stickers from a scrapbook.com sticker book. They're really good basics. They just have like alphabets and phrases in them. And this was one of those things where I was like, it feels a little bit boring by only having those stars and the different textures from the papers. But again, sometimes I'm okay with that. I try not to push it. Ultimately, I want the focus to be on the photos. So this is where I just kind of stopped and was like, you know what, I'm done. I could have added some gold splatter. I could have added like some sequins or gems or something. But this was the point where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to call it done. I'm really in the mood to work on other stuff. So I wanted to just sort of get it done, get it finished, and not have it sitting around for another 6 months. So with that, I'm going to call this done. I will catch you guys in another video. Not sure which one that's going to be next, so be on the lookout. Until then, I'll catch you guys over in my Facebook group and in the comments down below.